welcome to the Nikki Maduro Show. I'm Nikki Maduro. She's Kim McAllister, and Kim McAllister. I always say this before the show: the 1 minute before the show starts. I mean, I'm telling you, is the best 1 minute before the show because it's when Kim McAllister gets her beverage for cocktails and news. Kim McAllister. Before we get to our friend Emily Hoeven, who's going to be opening the official voter guide. Tell us what your husband David has made for you for cocktails and news, real quickly.
Okay, so this is a new development in my house. This whole cocktails thing that we're doing on Thursday nights.
Yeah,
because I'm not a big drinker. It's not that I don't drink. I just don't often gravitate toward it. And if I do, I'll have a glass of wine. So today he goes. Earlier he told me, he goes, tonight you're gonna put your big girl panties on.
Big
You're
girl
gonna
panties.
Gonna have a big girl drink.
Right.
And I was like, what the hell does that mean? He goes, I'm surprising you. So like moments ago, he brings me this in a margarita glass.
It's not a margarita though. Now, also keep in mind, Kim McAllister is not much of a drinker, people.
He purchased this. It's a Manhattan. It's this pre-made drink. It's the High West Distillery barrel finished cocktail. All right. So he brings me this, and it's got a cherry in there, and it's very cold.
Yep.
And I took a sip of it.
Okay.
I can't drink it before Nikki gets here because we drink together. Like I don't want to take a sip. He goes, no, you need to prepare yourself.
Yeah.
So I
big old panties on.
And it's not bad when you sip it, like the taste of it on the front of your tongue, but when you swallow it, I swear to God, it tastes like you're sucking on a gas pipe. Like your whole throat is just on fire.
On fire. So
why does anyone think this is pleasant?
I think you have to have a couple sips. It's like, like a bad wine sometimes. Just drink half of it and then you just don't even know about it. But anyway, so that's what Kim's going to be drinking on Cocktails and News on the Nikki Maduro Show.
I'm a big girl.
Make sure you click that thumbs up button to support the show. Our Patreon, of course, is live. But let's get to it because we don't have Emily for very long.
Okay.
So let's welcome to the show. Oh, we'll be drinking later on, so don't worry, people. But let's welcome to the show our good friend, Emily Hoeven with the San Francisco Chronicle.
Yay!
She is the editorial writer, and she's going to help us get through. I have it right here, Emily. Thank you. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, Emily. I love seeing your face. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Great to see both of you.
Okay, so we have the voter guide. We're going to talk about a couple state propositions. And then we are going to squeeze in towards the end the Chronicle's recommendation or the endorsement for the mayor's race, because that's quite interesting. But there's so many propositions. There are what, 10? I think California voters are going through to decide. I wanted to focus on the housing ones with you. First one I wanted to touch on, which I found to be very interesting, was 33. Now, 33, everyone get out their voter guide.
I'm going to take notes.
This is interesting, okay? I was doing my homework, Emily. This one is called Prop 33 expands local government's authority to enact rent control. Once people see rent control, Emily, they're like, oh my goodness. Rent control on residential property. This is not the first time this has been before voters, right?
No, it has been before voters. Actually, I believe the last 3 statewide elections in various iterations. So yeah, it's definitely not the first time that it's come before us.
And it hasn't done well. Obviously, that's why it keeps coming before voters. What is the Chronicle's endorsement for this, and how likely do we think it's going to pass?
Yeah, so the other versions of this measure have failed by wide margins in past years, but the proponents of it are not deterred and keep bringing it back. And I think the polls this year are actually showing it to be somewhat of a close race, and I think maybe that's partially because coming out of the pandemic, there were a lot of folks that dealt with eviction or difficulty paying the rent and things like that. And so that might be a point of interest for people. The Chronicle Editorial Board, however, we endorsed a no vote on this measure. And it's for various reasons, but essentially what Prop 33 would do is it would repeal something called the Costa-Hawkins Rental Housing Act, which is a 1995 state law that essentially limits local governments or prevents local governments from limiting what landlords can charge new tenants when they first move in. And it also limits the rent increases that landlords can charge tenants in housing that was built after 1995, condos and single family homes. So that's, that's kind of a complex issue, but, there are cities that already do have various forms of rent control. And studies have generally shown that while those measures can protect existing tenants and, make sure that they're not paying a ton more than when they first moved in, it generally is a disadvantage for newer tenants. And it also can suppress new housing supply because it disincentivizes landlords and developers to build new housing because they know that the housing that they would build would be rent controlled if the current law were repealed, because right now it does not. It basically blocks local governments from limiting the rent that you could charge for a brand new apartment. But if this, if Prop 33 were to pass, essentially it would eliminate that prevention, and so local governments would then have the decision as to whether they want to institute any other form of rent control that is not currently allowed. Another reason we opposed it is because there have actually been a lot of anti-housing sort of NIMBY cities explicitly saying that they want Prop 33 to pass because they would use it to basically enact other forms of what courts have interpreted to be rent control, including what are known as inclusionary requirements. In other words, if a developer wants to build a new housing development, a lot of local governments have inclusionary requirements that basically say, okay, 20% of this project has to be affordable housing. But basically, people that don't want new housing development are saying they want 33 to pass because then they could pass a law that says it has to be 100% affordable all of the time, and that would essentially make it impossible for projects to pencil out, and no one would build any housing. So because of those concerns, we oppose Proposition 33, but there are a lot of folks and tenants organizations that support it and say that it will help keep people in their homes and ensure that people are not displaced and neighborhoods are not gentrified.
I mean, I was reading it and this is what I was thinking. If Prop 33 did pass, and one analysis I was reading is like, well, some people that had investment properties would want to sell their properties because they wouldn't be able to rent it as much and get as much money. I like that because then maybe they would sell their properties and people would be able to buy them that want to buy a home. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like people are holding on to their properties as investments and not letting people that want to buy their first homes have an opportunity to do so. The housing supply is kind of locked in to some of these, and I don't know if it's just corporate, people that own homes or just, mom and pops that own these homes. I just feel it would add to the housing supply in some way. But are you finding that that's not actually a possibility? And to add on top of that, I mean, at what point can people just stop raising the amount of rent they make from homes? I mean, how do we cap it in California? There has to be some sort of mechanism. If it's not Prop 33, then what is it to make people say enough is enough? People can't afford it. This astronomical rise in rent.
Yeah. So to answer the first part of your question, I think paradoxically, the more you expand rent control, actually, the more you are incentivizing people to stay in the same homes forever. Because if the apartments are rent controlled, if more and more apartments are rent controlled, why would you ever leave them? Do you know what I mean? Whereas right now, if there's not as much rent control, there is going to be sort of more natural turnover of properties, people moving in and out of different locations. And again, if you expand rent control too aggressively, we have reviewed research that at that point it makes the financial incentive to build housing essentially disappear. And unfortunately, I mean, for better or for worse, financial incentives are always going to be a part of the housing market place. In regard to your second point, there actually already is a statewide cap on rent increases. There is a 2019 state law that limited annual rent increases for most occupied units that are more than 15 years old to 5% plus inflation, or 10%, whichever is lower. And it also expanded tenant protections. So you couldn't just, evict someone and because you want to raise the rent. So again, there are still properties that are coming on the market that are less than 15 years old that are going to have higher costs. But, at the end of the day, that protection is still a lot more than people in other states have.
Yeah. It's so frustrating. I feel like people are going to see rent control. And I mean, how likely do you think, do you have any idea what the polling shows with Prop 33? It is kind of close or not?
Yeah, there's various polls that have showed it being closer than it was in past years. There's been a lot of money spent on this measure. Actually, Prop 34 is an attempt to sort of limit the ways that the main funder of Prop 33, Michael Weinstein, who is actually the CEO of the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, can really keep putting this before voters on the ballot. But yeah, at this point, the polls are close, and I think only 3% of ballots have been returned so far. So it's really unclear how this is going to end up.
So you say the Chronicle is a yes on 33?
No, the Chronicle is
no on 33. No on 33. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go real quickly to Prop 5 because I do want to get the mayor's race, and I know we only have you for another 9 minutes or so. Prop 5 is this bond measure that actually, correct me if I'm wrong, would impact this election as well. This allows local bonds for affordable housing and public infrastructure with 55% voter approval. So that would change the threshold from 2/3 to 55%. Where does I'm leaning towards no, because I feel like, geez Louise, we spend so much money on bonds, and I'm very cautious about this. Where does the Chronicle stand on this?
Yeah, so the Chronicle Editorial Board is also a no on this measure. And I'm laughing because we are yes on other measures, I promise, but these two specifically we happen to be a no on. So Prop 5, at its basic level, it basically reduces the threshold to pass local affordable housing and public infrastructure bonds. So as you mentioned, Nikki, right now in local bonds, you need to have 66.7% of voters approve those local bonds for them to go into effect. And so this can lead to weird outcomes where, for example, you can have, I think there was a fire infrastructure protection bond in a Bay Area county that failed with 66% of the vote or something like that. So even though it's a majority of voters, it still wasn't that super majority threshold. And I'll just note that statewide, for state bonds, you actually only need a 50% plus one majority. So the threshold for local bonds is higher. And part of the reason for that higher threshold is because local bonds are typically paid back through higher property taxes, whereas state bonds are repaid out of the state general fund. So presumably that's money the state has and it's not a direct tax increase, but local bonds do tend to lead to local property tax increases. So that's the reason why they've been higher. But, people make the argument that it's not democratic to have bonds be rejected when they even have more than 0.5% of the vote. So, on that argument, we are amenable to that argument, even though, I think there are concerns that would lead to a lot more bonds, a lot more debt, a lot more taxes, even sloppily constructed bonds, because right now you do have to kind of put together a pretty intense coalition to get that 2/3 majority. But there is a very strange carve out in Prop 5 that is the main reason why we opposed it, which is it essentially blocks local governments from using Prop 5 approved, like bonds that pass after the Prop 5 threshold, to build multifamily affordable housing on lots that are currently single family up to a fourplex. So it essentially makes it difficult you can't use that bond money specifically for affordable housing in single family and low zoned neighborhoods. And we found that to kind of perpetuate the exclusionary aspect of single family home zoning. And so for that reason, we opposed the bill. And the reason that was even in there was because the California Association of Realtors had raised millions of dollars to oppose Prop 5 unless that exemption was written in there for them, because obviously, they make their money selling those types of homes. They said that they opposed it because they want to ensure that people can continue to buy single family homes. That remains a dream for many people, including people of color, who are now a growing share of homeowners in the state. So that's part of it. But yeah, that's the general gist of Prop 5.
Yeah.
It's so interesting looking at who supports this bill, which is the California Professional Firefighters, the League of Women Voters of California, and Habitat for Humanity supports it as well.
I think part of that is because, the bonds, you would be able to have lower thresholds for infrastructure bonds, which includes things like fire bonds for fire stations. And obviously Habitat for Humanity also builds some types of housing. So it would give them more business, most likely, because more types of local bonds would pass. Whereas right now they are failing to meet that 2/3 supermajority.
All right, we have about 5 minutes and I have to get to the mayor's race in San Francisco. And for those of you that don't live in San Francisco, I don't live in San Francisco, but this San Francisco mayor's race is just something to watch. And again, it's falling in line with the presidential race, which I don't know if Mayor London Breed would be doing as well if it wasn't in a presidential election. That's what a lot of people are saying. Now, again, just to remind people, London Breed's the incumbent mayor, Mark Farrell, former city supervisor, and the appointed mayor, Daniel Lurie, nonprofit founder and the Levi Strauss heir. Aaron Peskin is the president of the Board of Supervisors, and Asha Safai is the District 11 supervisor. All of them are running for mayor of San Francisco, a job I wouldn't want if you paid me $1 billion, but they all want the job, apparently. The San Francisco Chronicle, I've already read your guys' endorsement. Very controversial, apparently, in some necks of the woods. Who are you guys endorsing? Because it's apparently 2 semi-endorsements.
Yeah. So our endorsement came out this week, and we supported Daniel Lurie, who, as you mentioned, Nikki is the nonprofit founder and heir to the Levi Strauss fortune, and who does not have prior experience in city government, which makes him unique among the other top candidates that you mentioned. So he was our top choice. And the reason that we chose him was that, he kind of represents, I guess you could say, a departure from the status quo, and also has a really impressive set of connections to very knowledgeable people that kind of gave us confidence that even if he himself is entering into this with, less experience under his belt, he would be ready to hit the ground running on day one, just given the folks that both within and outside of government that A, not only have trust in him, but B, are, willing to lend their expertise and advice to him. And so that was that. And then it is a risk, but we also felt that San Francisco is kind of at an inflection point where we do need significant change, and we do need outside the box thinking and fresh ideas and a fresh perspective. And so even though there is sort of that uncertainty of what exactly Lurie would do and how he would execute it, we felt that was a risk worth taking. We also noted in the editorial that London Breed, the current incumbent, is also, a good choice. And we sort of suggested that she was the safe choice in this race. And we say that because she's a known quantity. She's the incumbent. Voters have had 6 years to sort of look at her record and see what she's about. And, we don't feel that the city would get worse under her tenure. It would kind of keep going on the track that it's on, which has pros and cons. But we did suggest that she would be, another good option. And the other candidates we had concerns about, most significantly surrounding Mark Farrell, who has kind of racked up a series of very serious and concerning ethics violations, and whose ideas that we ran past experts we did not feel would actually really bring the city to the place that it needs to go. So yeah, that was kind of the reason for it, but it has been really interesting to sort of get the feedback from people. And I think we ran a bunch of letters today, that some of them supporting the decision and some of them criticizing it. And it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out. And you're kind of seeing these shifting allegiances and ranked choice voting strategies play into it, because San Francisco is also somewhat unique in having this ranked choice voting system. So you basically say, this is my top choice, second choice, third choice, fourth choice, fifth choice, and that can distribute the votes in weird and unpredictable ways. So it's my first time kind of going through a ranked choice election. So I'm kind of just interested to see what's going to happen, because I really have no expectations.
I don't like it at all.
It's
Sometimes
like you
I
feel
like
like
it, I don't
anything
like
can
it.
happen.
Exactly. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Emily Hoeven. Oh, go ahead.
Before we let you go, can I quickly ask you what
Yeah.
type of ethics violations in regards to Mark Farrell?
Yeah, absolutely. So most of them are in regard to his campaign finance policies. So for example, there are concerns that he has been using a ballot measure committee that basically allows for unlimited donations to subsidize his mayoral campaign, which has donation caps of $500 per individual. And so basically he has been cross-pollinating them in a very unusual way. And it seems that perhaps he might have been, there's just questions around that.
Okay.
He also did not report a very sizable debt that he owes to a prominent San Francisco family. And he said that he, forgot to report that debt, but those are things that the public needs to know, because those are relationships that could change how they act when they're in office. So those are several of them, but there are more, but those are the two that come to mind.
Wow. Okay.
Well, Emily, I mean, I love that it's your first time doing the ranked choice voting. Also, real quickly, like I mentioned before, the fact that this isn't a presidential election, that also does play well for London Breed. And do you think that was obviously a good move for the city of San Francisco, but making the best choice for mayor, having it with the presidential election?
Yeah, no, one quick thing too on Mark Farrell, I just want to note that he's very strenuously denied all the allegations. So I just want to make sure that that's out there as well, in regard to that. Yeah, so it's actually funny in terms of the mayoral election timing, because there was a debate a while back about whether this election should have been held last year or this year. And so that's why the mayor has actually served 6 years. So it's a bit complicated. And the mayor actually opposed it, ironically. But now I think that it's probably going to benefit her. And we've actually seen her align herself very explicitly with Kamala Harris, even using sort of the same tagline of "we won't go back." And she has specifically used that in regard to Mark Farrell, who she sort of sees as, she's characterized as a secret Republican and kind of wanting to implement all these conservative measures in San Francisco. And, I think obviously being a woman of color, she's been able to kind of drum on that enthusiasm as well that the vice president has generated among a lot of previously apathetic Democratic voters. So, we'll see. I'm not sure if it's how that's going to translate, because I think Breed's also been going through a pretty stormy time. There have been a lot of ethics scandals in her own department that have been covered recently, and I think have raised a lot of concerns for voters who feel like they're approving all this money, they're approving all these new taxes, and some of the nonprofits are not using that appropriately. And meanwhile, we're seeing a lot of crises on our streets continue to get worse. And so I think there is that frustration. How it will manifest definitely remains to be seen.
Absolutely. Emily Hoeven, San Francisco Chronicle editorial writer, thank you so much. We can't wait to have you back. It's going to be a crazy election, and I love that you're covering it all. Thank you so much for joining us. We love having you.
We miss you.
Thank you both. Great to see you.
Doors always open. Thank you. Emily Hoeven, check her out on the Chronicle. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy, crazy election. I love that she's covering the ranked choice voting. Do you like ranked choice or no?
No.
I don't like it either.
When I lived in San Francisco and voted there, I found it to be super frustrating because you could see that most people, even if most people voted for a number one candidate, for some reason, the number two candidate still had the opportunity to win. It was really bizarre. I didn't care for the way that it wasn't straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, I get the idea of, giving people an opportunity and the way that you have to appeal to more voters, right? I understand that kind of way, but sometimes I always say this, and I've said it so many times, you make things complicated because you're trying to fool people. You're trying to screw people. You know what I mean? Like, make it clear, make it easy. When you make things complicated, you're
Yeah.
trying to fool people. All right. We still have more propositions to go through. I did my homework.
Look at you.
I did. I have like all these like notes on my voter guide. So
Okay.
I promised you guys we were going to go through it. Emily was just only here for 20 minutes. I do appreciate all of her time coming through it. So let's start at the beginning.
Mhm.
But I had something else when you were talking about your Manhattan.
Uh-huh.
My husband brought me something.
What did you get?
I got something too. So I have a little shot here.
What
How
is it?
many of you in the comments, all right, you guys, pay attention. Pay attention. Those that drink, okay? Because this is Cocktails and News. We will be going through the voter guide. How many of you know what feigling is? Does anybody know what feigling is? Anybody? 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 It's right here in my glass. It's clear. All right. It's not vodka. It is not water. It's not gin.
What is it?
Feigling. Anybody? Anybody? It's spelled Feigling. It is so good. Well, I guess it is a vodka. I guess I'm lying. Well, is it a vodka? No, it's not actually vodka. They don't call it vodka.
I don't think
Not
I'm gonna make it
licorice.
through this
It's
Manhattan.
not. It's
Mm-mm.
not licorice.
Nope.
It's not licorice, Cameo. No, that's not the right spelling. It's Feigling. Anybody? Anybody know what it's made out of? It's actually
It's gotta
yes.
be. Is it German?
It's fig. It's a
Oh.
fig liqueur. It is so freaking good. So every time I go to Teskey's, Germania, it is German, down in downtown San Jose, they
Mhm.
sell it in little bottles. Okay, you get them in these little bottles. But my husband,
Oh, that's
so
a big bottle.
this is a big bottle. But they come. Imagine a little bottle this size. Okay, and they come in
Okay.
a box of like 10, and you just like and you slam it on the ground, and then you take a little swig of it. I am telling you, this is so dangerous. Do you want to know why? Because it's not like your Manhattan.
Is it
This
sweet?
it is so good.
Wow.
It is. It's not sweet. Look, there's literally no burn. It is
Yeah.
so good. It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. I mean,
Let's
you're
hear
not
it for
gonna get.
feigling.
It's not like that's not gonna get me. That's not gonna get me drunk.
What's the alcohol content on the feigling?
Let me see. Let me see what it is. It's 20%. So it's not that much too. It's not that bad. It's not 20% alcohol by volume. It's not that bad.
Mine is 74 proof.
Yeah. This is 20% alcohol by volume. It's not that bad.
Mine's 37%.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm gonna make it through this thing. I'm
20.
not. Yeah.
No.
I can't
And then I
drink
have my Maduro meal. I'm not no, this will not get you
Mhm.
hammered, the feigling, but it's so yummy. It is so yummy. But it's dangerous because then you're drinking the gigantic beers at Oktoberfest, and then you're having all the feigling,
it.
and then you're just a mess. But anyways, it is so yummy. Deidre says try Ocean Vodka's coconut rum, no burn and really yummy. Yeah. All right. I'm cracking open my cold one. And I am okay. So let's go through and if anybody wants to hop on, but let's put the link in there, Kim. Can we put the link in there? Let's put the link in there. If anyone wants to hop on and start ranting and raving about any of these propositions, you guys can hop on and join us. Oh, excuse me, Nugget. I did not mean you. All right. Proposition
Come talk to
2.
us. If you have an opinion
Yeah.
or any knowledge or you want to discuss, here's the show link. Click it and join the party. Join the Nikki Maduro show. There you go.
Okay. All right.
I love Dave. Stop feigling around.
Okay. So number 2 is shut up, dog. Is authorizing bonds for public school and community college facilities. All right.
Mhm.
Now, I did my research on this a little bit. Okay. So here's the thing. This is a $10 million bond.
Billion
All
with a
right.
B.
B with a B. Okay. Now, some goes to community colleges. Most of the money goes to K through 12 construction. All right. Now, of course, with bonds, they have to approve it every year. Like there's no plan, right? There's no plan. And this is over 35 years that they're going to try to pay this. They're going to apparently pay all of this money back with interest. it's going to be like $17.5 billion for all of this construction that they're going to have to. So keep that in mind, I guess, if you like these bonds. And again, remember what we were talking about with Proposition 5, lowering the threshold. How many bonds are on this freaking thing? I don't know. As I'm getting older, I used to say yes to all these freaking bonds when I was younger. And now I'm like, you know what?
We have a local bond that would increase our school facilities spending.
Okay. Yeah, I have one of those on mine too.
And so, am I going to vote for the state bond and the local bond? I
Right.
don't know. And does this increase the property taxes? I guess it wouldn't. It's not a property tax kind of situation.
Right.
That would be the local one.
Let me ask you guys in the comments. Kim's question. Now, would you rather vote for the state one or your local one? And do you think that your local school board or whatever spends the money better? Like, would you rather the money go to like beautifying your local schools or go to your teachers or whatever? Like, do you trust them to spend the money better than the state? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I'm like wondering. Look around.
So this would be for repair, for upgrade, for construction of facilities, K-12 public schools, including charter schools, community colleges, career technical education programs, and the improvement of health and safety conditions and classroom upgrades. That doesn't sound like a bad thing. It's got the approval of the California Teachers Association, the California School Nurses Association. The only body opposed to it is the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers
They always oppose
Association.
everything.
Yeah, they do.
Ren says yes. Here's why: the state matches local district bonds. Teacher Lori says bonds get automatic no from me. Stop going further into debt. There you go. All right, bonds are only for facilities, not salaries. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Prop 3 seems like an easy yes. Okay, Proposition 3 just writes into the state constitution what. Now, this is an easy yes, although it's not needed necessarily, because Prop 8, remember Prop 8, the whole gay marriage thing. So basically, Proposition 3 amends our state constitution that basically takes out the language that marriage is only between a man and a woman. But Proposition 8 was already repealed, so we couldn't enforce it anyway. So basically, it's just so when we look at our state constitution, that language is out of it.
Yeah,
Even
that's a yes
though
to me.
we can't, you know what I mean? It's more symbolic than anything else, but I like it anyway. So just
No, I don't know, because it changes our state constitution to
but we
reflect
can't
the
enforce it
language.
anyway because we already passed because of what we already passed because you know what I'm saying? So it's already not enforceable, but it changes the language. It takes out the language that was in there, which isn't enforceable anyway. Does that make sense?
When looking at who opposes it, the Jonathan Keller, the California Family Council.
Anything that says the family council, you're like,
and some reverend.
Traditional family. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The supporters include some type of evangelical Lutheran church, the Dolores Huerta Foundation, Equality California, and it costs nothing for us to make this change.
Yes.
I think it's an easy yes.
Yeah, it's an easy yes. All right. Number 4, another bond. All right. This is $10 billion. This is for environmental projects, but there's no specific projects listed. I love this one. No specific projects listed. You're only deciding whether to give $10 billion over 40 years with interest. It's like $16 billion. And there's no plan, of course, to pay it back year over year. This is the problem. It's that every year we have to figure out with our budget how to pay these bonds back. Now, environmental projects, of course, this is everything to do with water. And so you have to decide for yourself. Again, bonds. But
it doesn't tell me what the projects are. It just tells me it's for water, wildfire prevention, and protection of communities and lands.
But at the same time, okay, on one hand, how are we going to know what specific projects we're going to need year after year, right? So on one hand, we can't know what specific projects we're going to need. On the other hand, how are we going to know? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We know we're going to need it, right? On one hand, because it's California, we know we need water. We know we need to update our infrastructure. We know we need these things. We know we need it. So on one hand, on the other hand, it's a hell of a lot of money. We're talking about basically $26 billion over, I mean, when all is said and done with the interest and everything, over 40 years.
But it is to fight the effects and causes of climate change, right? And and conserve our natural resources, clean drinking water. I don't know if I'm ready to make a decision on this because I want to do some research and find out what exactly do you mean by clean drinking water? How are you going to do that? And what kind of projects would this be for?
There's no specific projects listed. There aren't any specific
That's going
projects
to be a
listed.
no for me.
Well, I mean, but again, it's over 40 years to pay back the bond. You want them to list specific projects over the next 40 years that this $10 billion is going to? Good luck.
If you told me this is to build a seawall and protect our coastal communities from the effects of climate change,
right.
if you told me that, you have a plan for California's waterways to, to do yearly testing and to make sure that they're protected and if you gave me more information, it's like if my kid came to me and said, "Hey, can I have $20?" And I would say, "Well, why?" And they're like, "I don't know.
understand, but like,
I might go to the movies, I might not." Oh,
but they need the money to figure it out. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm torn on this one. Environmental stuff. I think on one hand, okay, so the fiscal impact increased state costs of about $400 million a year for 40 years to repay the bond. The supporters of the Clean Water Action, Cal Fire firefighters, National Wildlife Federation, the National Conservancy. Obviously, Howard Jarvis is against it. I mean, Howard Jarvis is always against it, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's really against it except Howard Jarvis. Nobody.
Yeah. That's just
it's a hard one. You're just gonna have
a lot of money. I just feel like I feel like I need more.
If I'm gonna put a lot of money towards it, I'd rather put it towards my environment. We are in the middle of a climate change crisis. It's gonna toss a ton of money. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's one you're gonna have to think about. In 40 years, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows in 40 years if this planet's even going to be here? Money might not even exist. We might be on crypto and on Mars for all we know. Who the hell knows?
So here's what Cal Matters says about this one.
Okay.
They say environmental groups and renewable energy advocates have been asking for increased spending on climate change and environment in recent years, especially after the governor and the legislature approved a $54 billion spending package called the California Climate Commitment in 2022. But then because we had budget issues, they had to scale it back to $44 billion. About $3.8
I love how they say
billion.
Scale back to $44 billion. Okay.
$3.8 billion would be spent on water projects, half to improve water quality, the remainder on protecting the state from floods and droughts and other activities, including restoring rivers and lakes. The rest would be spent on wildfire and extreme heat projects, $1.95 billion natural lands, parks, wildlife projects, $1.9 billion coastal lands, bays, and ocean protection, $1.2 billion clean energy projects, and $850 million on agricultural projects.
But not specific. Okay, so that's a good breakdown. That's a good breakdown.
I broke it down in an incorrect fashion, but I'll put the link in the chat so you guys can look.
But that's a good breakdown of like the categories, but it's not specific projects, but it's a good category breakdown, right?
It gives you a little bit more information on what the plan
Good categories. Okay.
Right.
And I like those categories. I mean, obviously we don't know the projects, but we know the categories, and I support those categories, right? So look, California is a gigantic state. We know we're going to need to do all of this stuff. We know we need the money. We know it's going to be expensive. The oversight I worry about, the fact that bonds need to be approved and budgeted for year after year for 40 years concerns me a bit.
San Francisco Chronicle says yes. Sacramento Bee says yes. LA Times says yes.
Sac Bee says yes. That's saying a lot. Okay.
The Southern California news group, East Bay Times, Mercury News, and the San Diego Union Tribune say no. This has support from the California Labor Federation, the firefighters, the National Wildlife Federation, Clean Water Action, the SEIU, League of Women Voters, the California Democratic Party, and on and on. The opponents are the California Republican Party, as you mentioned, Howard Jarvis and friends, and a couple of GOP.
What's going to happen when Howard Jarvis passes away?
I know. I'm gonna say it's a yes.
I
I'm gonna
mean,
say it's a
yeah.
yes.
I
I'm gonna
believe
say
it's the
that's a yes.
religion of our future.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Number 6.
That
Did
was
you look at
4,
number
right?
6? That was 4.
That's
Yeah,
a
we're gonna
yes.
go stay.
Yeah, I
We
went
already,
from no to yes on that one really quick.
yeah, see. All right, we did number 5 with Emily. All right, number
Mhm.
6. This one is interesting.
Okay.
No longer can we force inmates to work. Involuntary servitude is now going to be illegal if we pass Proposition 6. Okay. Eliminates constitutional provision allowing involuntary servitude for incarcerated persons. It's kind of the carrot and the stick sort of thing. So now it's not saying incarcerated people cannot work. They can still, but they just can't be punished if they don't want to. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Mhm.
So no more required prison labor. If they don't want to work, they do not have to. Yes, obviously. I mean, you don't want to work, don't work. Right? Oh my goodness, Kim, you want to force people to work in prison?
So, used to as of now, you could face disciplinary action, infractions,
Look at Kim.
get a write-up. I don't know, you're in jail, okay? Which means you're paying a debt
Sitting
to
in jail is
society.
not enough. That's
You're
not
paying
enough.
a debt to society. How wasteful for you to just lay around on your backside on a raggedy old cot.
Now I have to work for you. I have to make what, license plates? What do I have to do for you? What do I have to do for you? I have to be a slave for you. I got to work on the chain gang. What do I have to do for you? What the hell?
Tonight's garbage night.
Oh,
If I
Jesus.
tell someone in this household to empty the garbage and they don't, penalties are
Oh.
coming your way. Is it the same thing with prison? I don't know. If I'm in jail and they say, listen, Kim, we need you to serve the dinner tonight. We need you to, this is not dangerous jobs like, the firefighting team. We need you to, do the laundry for the good of everybody in the prison. This is a community
I
effort.
think it matters what kind of job we're talking about here, right? I mean, I think it's, certain jobs.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of jobs we're talking about here. A yes vote on this measure means involuntary servitude would not be allowed as punishment for crime. State
When you put
prisons
it
would
like
not be allowed.
involuntary servitude, it sounds so bad.
State prisons would not be allowed to discipline people in prison who refuse to work. So they would face a punishment if
Yeah.
they refuse to work. So, and who
Mhm.
knows what kind of punishment that is, especially in prison, right? So, I mean, are people getting put in solitary confinement if they refuse to work? I mean, come on now. Let's
Supporters of this say the measure would compel state prisons to prioritize rehabilitative programming
yes.
rather than busy work that doesn't necessarily help an inmate prepare for life after prison.
Listen, the truth of the matter is the Department of Rehabilitation doesn't really focus on the rehabilitation part. Come on. Like we are not making, we do not focus on the rehabilitation part all the time. We know
Mhm.
this, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
recidivism rate and all that sort of stuff. We know about this, right? And it's because prisons are overpopulated.
Mhm.
We send, and again, Emily Hoeven did not give, by the way, the endorsement of the Chronicle on Proposition 36, which we will talk about in a moment, because they haven't released it yet. They're going to release it next week.
Mhm.
That's why I didn't ask her about it. But
So
again, if that passes, imagine our prisons are going to get even more filled up.
So the next one we have to look at is Prop 36, because apparently,
right.
according to Cal Matters, the support for this is lagging because of support for something else, rather, Proposition 6. All right?
Yeah.
Support for better Proposition 36 could be influencing voters' first impression of Prop 6.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because think about it. Okay, so if we have overcrowded prisons, right? So then we have all of these men. Let's just talk men, okay? We have all these men in prison, and then they're put into work, and they're, the conditions are bad, and then they're being punished for not doing. I mean, come on.
Mhm.
I mean, how many prison movies do we have to see before we have some sort of image in our mind about what the hell's going on in there, right? Like. Vicky, she's like, oh, please, it's not slavery. They're making up in some small way for their crimes. I've never been to prison, Vicky. I don't know, but I'm sensing I'm getting the sense that it's not rainbows and butterflies in there. I'm sensing that an overcrowded prison with not so nice prison guards and the higher ups that look the other way, that things might be pretty bad for some of the inmates in there. That's what I'm sensing. That in some prisons, not all prisons. Okay, I don't want to make blanket statements here, but that's what I'm saying. I think that prison reform. I think the reason why we had, the the reduction of prison population in California was because of the overpopulated prison, and now we're just cycling it all back, right? Because of the horror stories we were hearing.
My first thought on this is you're paying a debt to society, and a little, it's not a cush vacation. A little hard work was never bad for anybody. But
I know. I hear you.
forcing people to work, I don't know.
I think we always forget. And I know that, okay, sometimes I feel like I'm Pollyanna here, but I always forget that I feel like we forget the cycle, right? I feel like we feel like prison inmates are dropped into prison and they don't start as children. They don't start as some innocent human being, right? That they start as a, let's say, 34-year-old man, criminal, right? Bad person. No, something happened to that person. They were raised in a home. They had a life before that. There is a reason that person ended up in prison. And we forget that. And so we forget who that human being is. And maybe that's the liberal in me, but I feel like we forget that. And so we forget all of the things that led to that person being there. And so then we're just like, nope, that person needs to do hard labor. And we forget all of the other things that person deserves some sort of rehabilitation. And that's what I want us to remember when we're talking about something as simple as they shouldn't be forced to work. You know what I'm saying?
Vilma goes hardcore. She says, break the law. Your body belongs to the state or the federal government. You cannot do what you want because you gave up your freedom.
I just try to speak to the heart of people. Like, I'm just trying for you guys to remember that we're talking about a human being. Like, if you could take an inmate and remember that they are people, that they were somebody's child once, that they were thrown into some sort of system. And yes, maybe the person they are now is not that nice of a person, and maybe they will never change, right? Rehabilitated, and you would never want to be in a room alone with that person. And I'm not saying that can't be true, right? I'm not saying that. But let's just not, throw the baby out with the bathwater and think every single inmate is that person, right? So let's just take a deep breath and understand that inmates, if they don't want to do some friggin' work in prison, they shouldn't have to. I'm voting yeah.
Heather says a few shifts in the kitchen or out picking up trash isn't going to interfere with your ability to rehabilitate.
Is that what it is, though? I don't know if that's what we're talking about here. If they don't want to, they shouldn't be punished for it. I think that's what the bill, that's what the proposition is saying. You can't be punished for saying no. That's what it's saying. Like, whatever. I don't know. Oh, am I breaking up? I apologize.
No, I don't think you're breaking up.
Oh, somebody said I was breaking it. I'm sorry, Liz. Maybe it's your, whatever. But anyways, I'm voting. You guys vote any way you want to. I am voting to not make inmates be forced to work on chain gangs. I'm just saying.
It's not a chain gang, though. They don't do that anymore.
I'm going to imagine a chain gang, Kim. That's it. I'm imagining a chain gang.
No.
Why should a private corporation and be able to pay almost nothing to prisoners and make a profit? Thank you, Teacher Lori. That's why should a private corporation be able to pay almost nothing to prisoners and make a profit from a product?
Because they're in jail.
Why should a private corporation?
They used to have them.
Slavery? You believe in slavery?
No, but they used to have them make license plates, right? I don't know.
You want to drive around with a prisoner and inmate plate on your car? Is that what you're saying? You want blood on
Picking
your car?
up trash on the side of the freeway.
That's like jail. That's like jail. That ain't prison.
Heather says, don't want to do work you didn't volunteer for? Cool. Don't volunteer yourself for stealing catalytic converters or selling fentanyl.
You guys are harsh tonight. My goodness gracious.
I kind of go that way.
My
Yeah.
God, you guys are so harsh tonight. Where are my bleeding liberals? Am I the only one here tonight? My God. All right.
You know what? If I was sent to prison today, I would expect that it would suck. And I would expect that I would have some type of cavity search.
If you
I would go into jail. It would be dirty and awful. There would be a public toilet in the middle of a cell where everyone could see everything. There would be people that I had to be scared of around every corner. And I would expect that they're going to come around to the cells with a clipboard and say, McAllister, today you're scrubbing the latrine.
The latrine. You're not in the army.
Whatever. Like, that's what I would expect. I'm just saying. This is not summer. This is no picnic. This is no summer camp.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Thank you. At least I have one bleeding heart liberal with me.
Which one?
I don't know. Kim McAllister, if you were in prison, you'd probably, I don't know. You'd be making cupcakes. I don't know, in the kitchen. I have no idea, but I highly doubt.
In prison. There is no cupcakes. You're stirring a massive vat of disgusting soup. Like, you know.
I don't know, man. I'm voting. I do not believe in involuntary servitude. I don't believe in slavery, even if you are in prison. I don't. Sorry, I'm voting yes. You can vote no. You can negate my vote. How about that?
All right. Each other out.
Exactly. All right.
Now we have to go to 36 now.
You want to skip the minimum wage one? Okay, fine. Let's skip it.
Because the reason they say our votes on Prop 6 won't necessarily matter is because all the focus is on 36.
Okay.
Right?
This is it. Okay, 36, guys. What do you think? How are you voting, Kim?
I don't know. Let's read about it. This allows felony charges and increased sentences for certain drug and theft crimes. The felony charges for possessing certain drugs and for thefts under $950 would now be allowed to be felonies. If the defendant has 2 prior drug or theft convictions, then again, it would be felonies. The costs for the state criminal justice system range from several tens of millions of dollars to the low hundreds of millions. Local criminal justice costs likely in the tens of millions annually. People that support it: Crime Victims of California, California District Attorneys Association, Family Business Association of California. Who opposes it? The District of Contra Costa County and Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice.
Yep. All right. Okay. So I'm going to go to the, I love the arguments before and after. So, okay. Now I'm going to be completely honest. When I first heard about this, my mayor here in San Jose, Matt Mahan, is a big old proponent of it. He's a yes on 36 guy. All right. I like my mayor, by the way. And by the way, do I have any San Jose people who are voting for mayor? I'm taking a poll over here. Licardo or Lowe? Let me know. Anyways, so this one I'm torn on. I'm going to be honest, because I don't know how it's actually going to play out. This is one of those propositions where I honestly feel, because of one thing and one thing only, the judge's discretion. This is where it's really going to matter, right? Because it all comes down to the judge's discretion. Whether or not the person standing in front of them is going to be sent to drug treatment or whether they're going to be sent to prison, right? That's where it comes down to. That is where the rubber meets the road with this. Is that judge going to look at someone who might have multiple thefts or drug offenses? That's the difference. That's what all the difference comes down to, is the judge's discretion.
So what this bill does is, according to Cal Matters, it would create a new kind of felony. It's known as a treatment mandated felony.
Right.
It would allow prosecutors to charge a person arrested for possession of certain drugs like fentanyl or heroin who have 2 or more previous convictions for certain drug crimes with this new felony. After pleading no contest, they would be able to choose undergo substance use disorder or mental health treatment or serve up to 3 years in jail or prison. The problem with it, and some people say this could save lives, right? So that's a good thing. But the problem is that most people are probably going to choose get the mental health help, get the drug treatment help.
Right.
The issue is there's no capacity,
Hmm.
that there would be a whole new population of people mandated into treatment facilities, and California counties are not being given the resources with this bill to meet that new coming demand.
But would Proposition 1 do that? See, that's my question. Remember, would Prop 1 that just passed, that we just approved in the midterm election, that
Mhm.
Governor Newsom sent all that freaking money for, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what Proposition 1 did? Was gave all this freaking money to create all of these mental health and drug
Sure.
places?
Mhm.
Wasn't that what we just approved? Wouldn't
Yep.
this be working hand in hand with that? I don't hear anybody explaining it that way, and that concerns me.
Yep.
Where is the talk of Proposition 1 working with Proposition 36?
Mhm.
That's what the fact that Newsom Newsom is against Prop 36. That's probably why. But the fact that nobody's talking about that working hand in hand, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why that's not being explained like that. Unless Newsom doesn't think that Proposition 1's going to be up and running in time, which also concerns me, for this to be playing out hand in hand with it.
Oh, it's interesting. There's an executive director for the Prosecutors Alliance of California that says it's irresponsible to tell voters that people will get treatment when you know they will not because there is no treatment available. She said they've wrapped this pill in baloney. The only way to get voters to vote for their prison initiative is to tell them that it's about treatment.
Okay, well, then I'm going to play devil's advocate with that. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you're telling me, right, Newsom, let's say Newsom, I'm just going to talk to Newsom because he's against this. Newsom, if you are saying that there's no treatment for this, then there's no treatment for people on the street then. There's no
Mhm.
treatment for the people on the street that aren't getting arrested and going to court. Then there's
Mhm.
no treatment for people when you send out social services to the homeless shelters, to their tents on the street, right? If
Mhm.
there's no services, there's no services. Whether you're offering it in court
Right.
or you're offering it at the shelter,
Yeah.
then there's no services. So which is it? Are there services or are there no services? Because there should be services no matter what.
So Mayor Matt Mahan in San Jose, your guy,
Mm-hmm.
has been a huge supporter of this, and he's acknowledging the lack of treatment options available in Santa Clara County. He says this, I think that's why Prop 36 ultimately will be a great forcing function for the state and all of our counties to invest in patient treatment systems at scale, which is something we've desperately needed for years. So
Right.
he says you vote yes on this, and counties are forced to figure out how to provide treatment
And
options.
I support that because again, it should be a question to Newsom
Mhm.
of you told us with Proposition 1 that you were funding all of these treatment centers, that
Mhm.
you were working with the courts to set up these mental health and drug treatment centers, which is why we approved by a very thin majority Proposition 1. You
Mhm.
told us that, Newsom. You ad nauseum told us that you were going to fund all of these treatment centers. So don't tell us when the court is telling these people to go to treatment centers versus these social workers on the streets that there's no place for you to go. F that. It shouldn't matter who's telling these people to go to get treatment. It shouldn't matter whether it's a judge or a social worker on the street. It should not matter. So I am voting yes on
Alongside
Proposition
the
36.
treatment of people would be offered shelter, job training, and other services designed to break the cycle of addiction and homelessness. And those who finish the treatment, if the treatment would ever be available, would have their charges dismissed. I see a law like this passing, And then when people have to go to prison instead of getting treatment because it's not available,
Right.
lawsuits will fly. And then all of a sudden, somehow communities will find the money.
Right. Now, Ren is saying Proposition 1 said it was a housing measure and reducing mental health money locally. That's why I voted against it. But it's the mental health and drug it was mental health and drug treatment. That it went hand in hand with that, Ren, because the mental health and drug treatment went hand in hand. They had to go somewhere. They had to go somewhere. They had to create these treatment facilities to get them into housing. There had to be a place for these people to go. That's what I mean by that. There had to be these treatment facilities built within the counties. That's what I'm talking about. So I don't know. I
think I'm a yes on 36.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I think that Matt Mahan has a point. I think it's going to put the pressure on these counties and the state to build the mental health facilities they got rid of under Reagan, that we've never rebuilt, that we needed. We need them, whether we need them because of crime, whether we need them because drugs, whatever. We need mental health facilities, housing facilities. Some people need to live there for a very long time, maybe forever. I don't know.
Yeah. Lori says, I worry these special types of sentencing for certain offenses, 3 strikes, is a horrible mistake. Let judges judge with respect to sentencing and circumstances of the crime.
That's what I mean. Like the judge's discretion, that's going to be the rub. You know what I mean? But I mean, I remember there was a news report, I want to say a couple of years ago, with like one of very few judges talking about this. And he was one of them that worked with these people. And he got very emotional in this newscast. And he was saying exactly that. He wants to help these people. But it takes certain judges, and we need more of them to work on these types of cases. They're hard though. They're very hard. And there's a lot of them, right? I mean, you're talking about people that are mentally ill. You're talking about people that are on drugs. And we also know how many, what they call them, touches you need to have on people before they're even willing to get help, right? Now, sometimes you need to have the threat of incarceration to force people to get the help that they need. That shouldn't be a problem.
Deidre says a lack of therapy for my family member resulted in a nasty drug habit.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm voting yes, and we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, I also do think it is a problem that if we're just going to throw people in prison, that's not the answer. That's my thing. If we're just using this as a way of like getting people off the streets and into prison, that's not what I want. We need to get people into treatment. And unfortunately, if it becomes that, we're just going to be all the way back to when Jerry Brown and we got handed over to the receiver, and we're just going to be all the way back to where we were before. And that's just asinine.
I do agree with Knit One Pearl One. 3 strikes was a bit of a disaster.
Yeah.
So, you know, but this isn't that. I think I'm a yes on it. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So that's 36. Was that it? Was that the last one that we had to go through? I think so. I think 36 was the last one. All right. Are there any other measures that you guys are? I mean, I think I think we did well. I promised you guys that we would go it. I mean, 3 strikes. I understood the idea behind 3 strikes. I did. When it was first proposed, I remember back then, people were like, dude, if you can't get it together after three strikes, if a judge is literally looking at you and being like, dude, the next time. But when the reality became the candy bar excuse, but it became something like that, right? Yeah, it became ridiculous. Deidre, it's officially cocktail hour. Yes.
All right,
Cheers.
I'm going to try another sip of this thing. Ugh.
So Kim McAllister is drinking gasoline, she says. You
That's
still don't like it?
It gets easier.
Yeah, you have to keep drinking it. I will tell you though.
I can feel it in my chest.
Don't tell David this, but sometimes those pre-made ones can be pretty harsh. You know what I mean?
Is that what it is?
Well, that's what he got you, right?
Oh
the
my
pre-made
God.
one.
This was not inexpensive. This was
No,
this was $28.99. It
Well-
makes six cocktails. That's way too much.
hold on. Show me the label again. Bring it up to the camera. Let me see.
That's
So-
way too much to spend on this.
No, so it's Manhattan. Yeah, I think it's High West Manhattan cocktail. Yeah, where he's like rye whiskey and Kim's like dry whiskey, and he's like rye whiskey.
I'm like, I don't know, but I don't even like it. And you just wasted $30. Oh,
No, then yeah,
Barf.
exactly. Liz is like, David needs to finish the bottle then. Not in one sitting if there's 6 cocktails in it.
feels like something that could have your liver dropping out.
Yeah, no, the
Mm-mm.
Feigling is good. You should do that next time. Try this. The Feigling is
The
really, really good.
Feigling.
I'm telling
All
you.
right.
Yeah, the Feigling. That's what it looks like, but you get the small ones. It's dangerous though. It's only 20% alcohol by volume though. It's not that bad. Did you finish the? No, I mean there's still. I'll have another shot though. You want another shot?
I mean, I only had like 3 or 4 sips of it, and I almost have the whole drink left.
Yeah, I'll have another one.
Come on.
Let's have a little bit more.
Mm.
But this is the dangerousness of this
Now
is
I
like
feel
there's
obligated
no
to drink it.
burn. Like, see, I don't do shots at all, but I'll
Mhm.
drink this till the cows come home. Because there's no burn.
Vicky says that's less than $5 a drink. It's not expensive. It's
That's true.
$30 I wouldn't have spent. I'll tell you that much, Vicky, and I'm not even enjoying it.
Yeah. No, I really don't drink wine that much anymore, Deidre. I had wine the other night with my friend. We went out to dinner, and I just got like a little carafe of wine.
Mhm.
And I remember why I don't drink wine that much anymore. This friggin' dog. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Mm. Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you.
I know because the dog's
Oh.
barking.
Oh, you're yelling at your dog? All
Yeah.
right. Teacher Lori says, Kim, forcing yourself to drink something is silly. Alcohol always tastes better as you get buzzed. Forcing yourself to drink leads to problems. Well, now that I know I spent $30 on it, Teacher Lori, I'm feeling obligated to drink it. You see what I'm saying?
Well,
Is
and
it
your
nap
husband
time for
made
you?
you the drink.
Yes,
He
Grandma,
made it
it's
for
nap
you.
time. He did. He made it for me. That was really nice. Yeah.
And he's really, really sweet. He came in like right before, and he was
Mhm.
really excited to give it. And it's
Yeah.
so funny. I feel like David should make a cameo during the show, giving you the drink. We need to do it
Yeah.
next time. He needs to give you the drink right when we start the show because he's trying to educate Kim on the alcohol. And she has no comprehension of any of the
I'm like,
alcohol
"Has what?
whatsoever.
What does it
And she's like,
have?"
"What? Dry whiskey?" He's like, rye whiskey. Oh, and that's right. We're
Smile for
changing the
everyone.
clocks
Smile.
back
Say hello.
soon.
Yeah.
Damn it. All right.
Charlotte wanted to make an appearance.
Oh,
Here
because
she is.
she heard Nugget probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so should we laugh about Trump dancing by himself on stage?
Yes.
I don't know. Should we?
I feel like we should. Oh, but while you're looking for that, can I tell you that
was
today he
looking
went on this weird rampage?
About what? Oh, I don't know if I have the video of him dancing on stage. I thought I had it, but he's so
called for-
weird. Oh yeah, I do. Okay, go
He
ahead.
called for President Biden to re-enter the presidential race.
I saw a headline about that. That was really weird. What is
He
he
went on this
doing?
weird rant about CBS and 60 Minutes. I think people are saying that he's a bit of wimpy for not going on 60 Minutes. And when you criticize him for being less than, robust and if you say he's cowardly, that
Right.
messes with his internal ego. So he's kind of losing it.
Well, I don't understand. Like you heard about how he did that all women town hall
yeah, but it
with
was
all with
Republican women.
supporters.
And Fox didn't say that. They said it's all women. They didn't say it was like the Republican committee of whatever
Yes.
town.
Like why would I'm sorry.
He
You're a
didn't get
chicken. You're a
real
chicken
questions
nest.
about reproductive rights. He didn't get real questions from women.
Yeah.
Put him in front of you and I,
Yeah,
right? Put him
exactly.
in front of you and me, rather, because
Exactly.
we have different questions.
Here, I think this is him. And I think that like somebody asked him to stop playing the song too.
We're gonna get busted for the song, but yeah, crazy.
All right, can I just mute the song? Let's just look at him. I mean, I don't understand what he's doing. Apparently, he was at a rally and he just was like, nobody wants any more questions. Let's just listen to music. Why? Why don't you want to answer any more questions? Is my question to you. Like, at
What a waste of
all.
time. All these people went to this rally. Apparently it was
To see
really, really
you.
hot in this room. 2 people fainted back to back. And one guy who's having this medical emergency,
Oh,
and
God.
Trump looks at him and goes, "You need to lose weight." The guy's being carried out. And he's like, "See, if you lost weight, you wouldn't have fainted."
Oh, God.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
exactly.
fire up the YMCA and the Ave Maria. Dude is losing it.
Yeah. So there was also a Univision town hall. I'm gonna play you this little clip. Now the guy, he has an interpreter because he speaks Spanish, which I think
Mhm.
probably was driving Trump nuts. I don't know. I'm sure his patience was running very low, having to wait for the interpreter. But basically the guy was asking, the farmers, many are undocumented. They break their backs hour after hour picking all this food for Americans. If you
Yeah.
deport them, what's this going to do to the price of the food? Who are you going to get to do this? So this is
You're
Trump.
worried about the prices at the grocery store?
Yeah, exactly. You're worried
Come
about
on.
inflation now. So this is Trump's non-answer to this question.
And other gang members.
I mean, it's like he has to name drop all these like talking points, and he never answered the freaking question. Lori is here.
Yay!
Yay! Hi, Lori. How are you?
Oh my God, we've been trying to get your attention.
What's going on?
Phineas lost his companion today.
Oh, Phineas.
What
do you mean he lost
companion?
what
His
companion?
dog. His dog was,
Oh, no.
Oh,
And-
Phineas, I am so sorry.
and he tried to get your attention. I've been trying to get your attention. Kim probably ignored me because I put all caps in a bunch of places.
No,
I
I didn't.
didn't
I honestly
see
didn't see it.
it.
I'm kind of
Phineas.
trying to scroll back, and I'm
I
not
know.
seeing it.
So
I'm
I
so sorry, though. But
finally-
thank you for popping in to let us know.
I
Oh,
Phineas,
no.
I am
called
so
because
sorry.
I feel so bad and I'm so frustrated.
Oh, Phineas, if you're still here, I'm so sorry.
Oh, now I see it. You did
Oh.
all caps me. Yeah. Oh, no. I'm so
Oh,
sorry to hear it.
Phineas, I am so sorry.
We're
Oh, we
sending
pray
you
for
a huge,
Phineas.
huge hug. That's awful.
Sorry. I was on a Zoom for like 2 hours today, so I'm getting off this thing, but I just couldn't
Oh.
stop myself. I had to get your
Oh,
attention
well, thank
somehow.
you for hopping on and telling us,
Yeah.
Phineas. We are going to say a big prayer for you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lori,
Okay,
for
now
hopping
how
on.
do I
Thank
get
you.
out of there?
Oh,
done?
I'll take you out. Thank you, Lori. Oh, Phineas, I can't imagine. Oh, I love you. So,
Yeah.
Phineas, we love you so much. And I'm so sorry that happened. Everyone's giving you hugs right now.
Yeah.
So much. So sorry. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that sucks.
It's
Oh,
not easy to lose your creature, especially if if you're living alone and that's your main squeeze. That
yes.
sucks.
I know I can't.
Yeah.
You know what sucks is that before I got Nugget, I don't know how many of you followed me from KGO. I was like the most apathetic animal person ever. And then I got this friggin' dog that has my heart now. Damn it.
Yeah.
And like he's just my love. Even when he barks during my show, I just love
Yeah.
him. I just love him. But yeah, back to Trump. He's just and okay, and I know probably you guys have been talking all day about Kamala Harris's
Mhm.
Fox interview. I really do think she did well. I will tell
Yeah.
you this. She went into the lion's den, and I will tell you this. She did not back down. The fact that he was trying to get at first, you know what he was trying to do? He was trying to get a deplorable moment from him. You know how Hillary Clinton mistakenly the basket of deplorables? He was trying to get that from her.
Supposed to be a
So are
cakewalk
they
for
misguided, the
anyone.
50%?
Listen,
Are
let
they
me-
stupid?
Oh
What is
God,
it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that
That-
question.
Supposed to be a
So are
cakewalk
they
for
misguided?
So now we're going to play again. And I think this was getting the most play, obviously, was the whole enemy within thing. Right. But the whole, are they stupid? Are they stupid? Brett Baer, he's not the worst at Fox. I'm not gonna throw him to the wolves. He's not the best. He's not the worst. I think that he was a good choice for this interview. Because he's not obviously Tucker obviously is gone, but whatever. But I do think he was a good choice for the interview. I do think that he interrupted her a lot. I do think that the whole enemy within thing and the fact that they had a clip ready as if that's what she was talking about was complete and absolute BS, because this is what they showed.
Question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster.
Oh, God.
No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated.
Yep.
When he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
he was asked
No,
about that
no,
specific.
that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and
I'm telling
respect to
that was the
you,
question that we asked him.
you didn't show that. And here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times. And you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the president of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
Quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes.
It's quoted in the Bob Woodward. And he has to throw the Bob Woodward thing in there as if like that's supposed to
That
diminish
somehow
Mark Milley.
decreases what he's saying, that he's wants to sick the American military on American citizens.
It's and I'm just gonna play for you again. This is for anybody that's wondering what Donald Trump actually says, and he said it more than once, but this is what he's actually said. So again, he has said it.
Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful election day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
Joe Biden said he doesn't.
There you go. That's it. That's the quote. Him sticking the National Guard and the military on American citizens. So for any of you people thinking Harris Faulkner, who is a freaking asshat with her freaking flip hair, and I'm sorry, I hate to be so flip. She is not a journalist.
No.
She is, and it pisses me off because she is an educated woman. Harris Faulkner is an educated woman, and she has demeaned herself. And I hate when educated women reduce themselves to be on Fox News for an effing paycheck. Harris Faulkner, you can do better than that. I'm just letting you know, not that I'm anybody, but you can do better than Fox effing News. I'm just saying. But anyways, not that I'm a fan, not that I even give an F, but like you could do better. I'm just saying. But anyways, like he says it. That wasn't edited. You know what I mean? That wasn't edited. There was no cut. There was nobody editing Donald Trump right there. There's no, what he meant to say. There is no question about what Donald Trump meant in that quote. He's talking about the American people. All right. And it bothers me. It bothers me when people think that he has any place in the White House. I've said it time and again. I am sorry, Republicans, that you were unable to come up with a viable candidate for president. You don't have one. You might not like Kamala Harris. You might not like her at all. You might disagree with her policies.
It's their fault for not
That's
coming,
your
not giving
fault.
us.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I'm sorry you couldn't come up with somebody that could debate policy, but you do not have a candidate for president. You failed to put forth a viable candidate. And now that JD Vance has officially come out and said that Donald Trump did not lose the 2020 election, he has disqualified himself for any future office ever. He is delusional. In my book, disqualified.
So I have a couple of things to tell you.
Mm.
The first is that it was kind of a Republican-y day for Kamala Harris because she appeared not only on Fox with Brett Baer,
Mm.
and I tend to think there were some questions I wish that she would have answered a little more strongly. Although he did that thing, given that, I hate when talk show hosts don't give people they invite on their show the opportunity to speak.
Talk. Yeah, exactly.
Like, if they don't answer your question in an appropriate way, circle back around and ask it again.
Right.
Right?
You
But at
invited
least
me
let
here.
them-
I didn't. Yeah.
let them speak. All right. So she goes on Fox. She has her moments with him. She also appeared yesterday at a farm in Pennsylvania. It's called Washington Crossing, and it's not too far from where the Constitution was signed. And she appeared on a stage with a bunch of Republicans, some of whom left the Trump administration and support her. Olivia, is it Troy? I think is one of the ones that was on stage. Adam Kinzinger was there. Other Republicans, the people that own the farm, longtime Republicans. This farm has been in their family for generations. They come and allow her to speak in front of their old barn, and they say there is no choice. If you respect the Constitution of the United States, you have to vote for Kamala Harris. So she's standing on a stage with all of these Republicans, and she is decidedly presidential. And I will tell you that Trump appeared at this Univision rally that you played a clip from. It was the immigrants there asked him some of the toughest questions he has been asked in this entire campaign. And one of them stood up and asked him to please address the parents of school shooting victims and tell them what's going on with the gun policy in this country. He went on and on about the Second Amendment, said nothing to the victims of school shootings. And you know what I remember about Kamala Harris? The day there was a horrible school shooting on the East Coast. I think it was in Georgia. And she said, it doesn't have to be this way.
Right.
And she gave a speech, and it was less of a canned speech and more of heartfelt comments.
Yeah.
That it's like, that's what this country needed to hear.
Exactly.
And here she is at Washington Crossing, Pennsylvania, standing on a farm with a gazillion Republicans, and she's standing up for the Constitution of the United States, which is something her opponent is not doing.
Is increasingly unstable and unhinged.
Talking about Trump there.
Yeah. Like
As
there's
if we didn't know.
And he is seeking unchecked power. Consider what his closest advisors have said. His national security advisor, 2 defense secretaries, his former chief of staff, his own vice president, all have warned America Donald Trump is unfit to serve. Or listen to General Milley, Donald Trump's top general. He has called Trump, and I quote, fascist to the core, and said, quote, no one has ever been as dangerous to this country. So think about that. General Milley served in uniform for more than 40 years, commanding American forces around the world. He has confronted some of America's worst enemies. And he is saying, no one has ever been as dangerous to our country as Donald Trump. America must heed this warning, because anyone who tramples on our democratic values, as Donald Trump has, anyone who has called for the, quote, termination of the Constitution of the United States, as Donald Trump has, must never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States.
Yep, exactly.
Never again. Never again.
And there are all the Republicans on stage with her.
Exactly.
That.
That's what I
Mhm.
can't get. That's what I can't get. Like, this is why I don't understand why Republicans, like, I don't understand why it's close, Kim.
And to those who are watching, if you share that view, no matter your party, no matter who you voted for last time, there is a place for you in this campaign.
That's what I hope. I really do. It could be so
The coalition we
changing.
have built has room for everyone who is ready to turn the page on the chaos and instability of Donald Trump. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
You know what you hear from the other side? Go against me, and I'm
And
coming
I
after you and locking you up.
seriously.
Yeah,
Mhm.
me,
I
I'm the
take
best.
that
I'm the best.
pledge quite seriously. So as I've mentioned, many of you know, I spent a career as a prosecutor in law enforcement, and I will tell you, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or are you a Democrat? I never asked of anyone who needed help, if anyone who deserved attention, where were they registered and who did they vote for? The only question I ever asked was, are you okay? And that is the kind of president I pledge to you that I will be. That is my pledge to you.
Look at her. Look at that woman.
I know.
This is going to be the first.
I
Don't make
hope
me cry.
so.
Because I'm drinking. This is going to be the first woman in the White House.
I hope so, Kim.
This is going to be the first woman in the White House. And she might not have won against a normal candidate, even if she was the better candidate, because she's a woman. But throw a train wreck like Trump, who's now in the last 2 weeks making comments about, sicking the military on American citizens, who goes to a rally and won't even talk to the victims of gun violence and says we should have more guns for entertainment.
I know.
Really? Who won't answer questions about, if you take away immigrants who are doing the work American citizens don't want to do, what's that going to do to food prices at the grocery store?
I don't even know how it's even a question. I don't even understand how it's even an effing question. I mean, I don't know how they can stand in the same room and talk out loud, and people are like, there's even Janet Yellen came out today, and I understand, like, obviously she's under Biden and Treasury Secretary under Biden. I get it. Like, people are like, oh, Paul, but so many economists, so many have said Donald Trump's economic plan would lead to inflation. Like, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So many that have nothing to do with Democrats or Republicans. Like I don't understand how people are ignoring so much evidence against Donald Trump. It's so weird.
He really seems to be unraveling, though, in the last couple of days, to the point where you look at him and go, oh, like, this is a Joe Biden at that last debate moment, right? Phineas, I'm so sorry about your pup. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm so
Phineas
sorry.
says, Kim, we said that about Hillary. The difference, my
Nah,
friend,
there's a difference.
the
There's a
difference,
difference.
Phineas, is that when Hillary ran against Trump, and she warned us too, because she knew, and
Yeah,
we should have
she
listened
did.
to her,
Yeah.
right, as a nation.
But I think she
But
took a lot for granted. I think Hillary took a lot for granted,
but when Hillary
underestimated it.
ran, we as a nation hadn't experienced all that is Trump.
Yeah.
We had a taste of him in the campaign. We had the grab him by the pee. We didn't have now the stacks of evidence, now the outrageousness, now the suspension of the Constitution, right? We didn't
Yeah.
have all of these wild things that are happening with him. And so I would argue that maybe we said that about Hillary Clinton last time, but that's before we knew more about Trump. Now
Yeah.
we know. Now we know
Yeah.
better as a country. So I don't know. I'm trying to be very optimistic, and I look at her and she's so presidential and so ready to lead that I feel like this is our moment. This is
Yeah.
it.
Reiki says Trump's canceled many appearances of late. Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Joe says, I know why all of her staff quit on her. Joe, how many people have quit on Donald Trump during his first presidency? And how many
Mhm.
are talking against him right now? John, have you seen our economy and the economic numbers since the beginning of the year? You can keep ignoring it and the numbers, but that's just because you're listening to Trump. Like,
So
honestly, our economic numbers should not be ignored. They shouldn't.
no,
Every single
the
time.
economy is
Listen to
doing
Fox
great.
News. Listen to Fox News. You can talk about like certain grocery
Mm.
numbers, but go ahead. Listen to our economic numbers. Listen to our job numbers. You can ignore them, but that just means you're listening to Donald Trump. Go
Look at
ahead.
the stock market right
Go
now.
ahead. Go ahead.
And
Every
and
single time Fox News is like, oh my God, this beats expectations. This beats expectations. This beats expectations. Go ahead, John. Just go ahead.
and he says, "Have you seen the prices at the grocery store lately?" And I would argue, John, that if you want to deport millions and millions of people who do the jobs that Americans don't want to do.
Mhm.
Here in California, you see them out in the Central Valley picking the crops.
Mhm.
If they're not doing the work, then
Mhm.
how much do you think it's going to cost at the grocery store then?
Right.
If
And
you deport
yeah.
all the immigrants, how much is it going to cost then? Already at the end of the pandemic, we saw restaurants closing because they couldn't hire people. There wasn't enough staff. You want to deport all these people. What's going to happen to our economy then? That's a
Right.
big mistake.
I swear to God. I mean, people like you, John, I mean, will make an excuse for everything. Just
Mhm.
fine. I mean, you will pick and choose, but I can't. Again, it's like you can't talk to people about real numbers if you're just
Yeah.
going to continue to ignore the facts.
Mhm.
So it's fine. Grocery prices, ignoring, all sorts of other factors is fine. Job numbers, all the stock market, all those sorts of things that have shocked Wall Street under Biden, you're ignoring. So I'm not going to play this game with people like you.
John
Okay, so I'm
Slade
not gonna do
says,
it.
"I'm at the grocery store right now. Prices are lower."
There you
Deidre
go.
says, "My grocery prices are lower than they were a year ago." You know what I
Exactly.
think? We knew that there was a grocery store that came out and said that they admitted that they hadn't decreased prices, that
Exactly.
they were charging
They
too
had them
much.
high.
And
Exactly.
I think that when Kamala Harris said, "I'm going after people who are price gouging at the grocery store.
Because they could.
So get ready." And I think people were like, "Oh, okay. I
Mhm.
guess we better settle these prices down then." And
They
so they
could
did.
totally yeah, they
Mhm.
can hide behind it. You can't stop people from, keeping their prices high and then hiding behind inflation. But again, you can look at other numbers that look great, but you can ignore them. Every
Yeah.
single time there was a great number on Wall Street and a jobs report, every single time Fox News was like, "Oh my God, it beat expectations." Donald Trump would be like, "The economy sucks." And all of his little minions would be like, "The economy sucks." And it wasn't true. So you can keep repeating Donald Trump's talking points,
Yeah.
John, if you want to, and live in that little universe. Fine. Live in that universe. I live in reality.
So here's the
Join me.
problem. When someone like Joe Blow comes on the show, or John, whomever, and they think they're, being so smart spouting off these things, they don't realize they're coming on a show where we actually have facts.
Well, it's fine. Like
So
and it's fine, but
your
whatever.
opinion, if you can't back it up, is meaningless.
Right. Well, because there's facts and then there's just what Donald Trump tells you to say. And that's
Mhm.
it. You can say what Donald Trump says, and then there's what actually is facts. See, Donald Trump says, I'm going to come out with the evidence in a few days, and then never produces anything. We, in reality, come out with the actual numbers, John and Joe, and then
John.
we produce them. And if you want to produce something,
Mhm.
you can. I'll keep waiting, though. I'll keep
What are
waiting.
the Harris-Biden immigration policies?
The
So,
one that
John,
the plan, the bipartisan plan, you mean?
so I feel like we're not looking back, we're going forward. And Kamala Harris has said that day one, she will look at getting this immigration bill that Trump tanked because he wanted there to be problems and he wanted there to be an issue to run on. Instead of caring more about America, he cared more about himself. Again, I feel like this is what she wants to do. People will get on board when she wins, and that will be our immigration policy. We'll have more border agents. If you care about immigration, this is what then you'll vote for Kamala Harris because this is the plan she wants to put in place, right?
Right.
If you care about being ugly and deporting people and tanking the economy because there's no one to work in the fields and there's no one to take all the jobs, then that's your prerogative. But don't come on here and say you're okay with the Biden-Harris immigration policy, because what's the immigration policy? It was developed by Democrats and Republicans. That's the immigration policy, John Cottingham.
Yeah, there was one, and Donald Trump said, "Don't pass it," because
Mhm.
he didn't want to give Biden the win. That's it. There's evidence. They actually Republicans, Mitt Romney, so many Republicans came out and said Donald Trump tanked this bill. It's evident. I mean, we talked about it ad nauseum. You know it's true, John. You know it's true. So,
Mhm.
okay, there's a bill that they're going to sign on day one if Kamala Harris becomes president.
Mhm.
Hopefully, it'll pass. That would have kind of helped solve all the problems. But Trump didn't want to give the win. So stop. You know it's true. It's fine. And again, it would have passed months and months and months ago. But again, Trump doesn't believe it's a crisis enough to solve right now. So all of these things are things that Trump wants you to believe, and we don't need to debate them. There's facts and there's fictions.
This is lies.
So
Sleeping
Trump,
volcano. Trump did not tank the bill. It was 6 Democrats who voted it
no,
out.
that's
Get
not
your
true.
info right.
That's
It
not
was
true.
it was bipartisan. Many Republicans were supporting it. It would have passed if Donald Trump hadn't picked up the phone and called all of his cronies and said, "Don't pass this. I don't want them to have any success. I don't want those Democrats to have any
Those 6
success."
Democrats were not the deciding factor on that bill passing. You know it, and I know it. Just because 6
listening to Fox
Democrats did
News.
not vote for it does not mean that bill wouldn't have passed.
Stop
That's
your
not true.
lies.
That's not
Done.
true. That's not true. And you know it, and
Mm-mm.
I know it. So stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. You are so full of crap. You are so full of
Yeah.
crap.
We're getting some serious trolls tonight coming in with a bunch
It's
of
because they're
crap.
all tender. It's because they're all
Yeah.
chicken tenders.
Yeah.
Fine. You can be whatever you want to be. You just know there was a bipartisan border bill
Yeah.
that Trump tanked. You know it, and I know it. So stop. You know
Mm-mm.
it. So stop. Like there's facts. You guys don't like facts. I know it. You just like
And
the talking points that Trump has, and
and
it's
here's
fine. Just accept it. It's fine.
here's another thing for Republicans that have decided to troll us tonight. Or I wouldn't say Republicans, I would say Trumpians. The fact is that I don't care what your issues are, if they're the economy, if they're immigration, what have you. The issue before Americans, I think that is most important, is the issue of the Constitution of the United States. It's the issue of whether we want to keep America and its principles intact with a president that respects and honors the oath of office and the Constitution,
Right.
or someone that would crumple it up in a ball and throw it behind him.
Right.
That, and if you are a true patriot, Joe Blow and John Cottingham and Sleeping Volcano and whomever else, if you're a true patriot and you're voting for Trump, you should be ashamed of yourself. 100% ashamed of yourself. Because you're scared. Are you a white person who's scared that somehow they're going to slip down a rank in society? Is that what you're sscared of? Because that's not going to happen to you. It's going to be okay, I promise. A woman in the White House, a Black woman in the White House, isn't going to mean that you're any less important in the world. It's going to be okay, okay?
Yeah. I just think that Trump is just too volatile. I don't think that he cares about anybody but himself. I do hope that Kamala Harris will keep her promise. I've said this many times of working across the. I do believe that she will work across the aisle. I really do. I will be one that will be loud and say, work across the aisle. Put Republicans in your cabinet. I mean, I think that's what we want. I want bipartisanship. I want that. I don't believe Democrats have the answer to everything. I do believe in, women's rights and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to compromise on that. But policies, compromising on fiscal policies and things like that. Yes, absolutely. Working on border bills that make sense to everybody, especially states that are actually on the border. Absolutely. Understanding the needs of people on the border versus states that have no comprehension of what it's like. Absolutely. We need to understand what it's like in a country as large as ours. You know what I mean? That's what we need to do. But this othering of others is stupid. You know what I mean? And I don't think that Trump has any comprehension of being a president for all Americans. That's what I mean. And we need to have somebody that does. We need to turn the page on him. We need the Republicans to realize they need a real candidate. And unfortunately, they did not put one up. And so that's it. You know what I mean? So again, Donald Trump is not a candidate for president in my eyes. That's it. So you guys need to put up a real candidate next time around. I am sorry your party could not have done it this time around, but you didn't. Sorry. You just didn't. Now, I'm not saying the whole Republican Party is terrible. You just couldn't get it together this time around. I'm sorry. So that's it. So I'm done talking about Trump though, because our show's coming to an end, and I kind of feel like we got all hot and bothered and under the collar. You know what I mean? I don't like to end it on a bad note. I want to end it on something lighter. So let's talk about something lighter.
Let me tell you before you move into something light that do you remember that moment? You just played it a couple minutes ago when Brett Baier on Fox News was speaking with Vice President Kamala Harris, and he went to a clip and he played this clip of Trump talking about, I didn't. It was basically not the clip telling of him.
Oh, the enemy within.
The enemy within. He's going to say all this stuff, and then Kamala Harris called him on it. And she's like, "That's not what he said, right?"
Right.
Well, Brett Baier now says he played the wrong Trump clip during his Harris interview.
Oh, he admitted it?
Says he played the wrong one. He said, I did make a mistake, and I want to say I made the mistake. And I love her for calling him out on that. She's like, no, what you just played, basically whitewashing over the outrageous comments he made. Let me tell you what he really said, Baier, right?
Oh,
and
so
now
he admits he played the wrong one.
He said he made a mistake and he played the wrong clip during his interview with Kamala Harris. Yep.
I will respect Brett Baier for admitting that. And that's why I said at the beginning, I don't think that he was a bad choice for the interview. He's not, I don't watch Fox News, but I didn't mind the choice. And thank you, Jim, so much for the $10 donation. Thank you. Great show. I have the ballot in hand.
Woohoo!
Thank you. And as promised, you guys, if you missed the beginning of the show, we did go through it. Thank you to Emily Hoeven for coming on the show and going through some of the ballot with us. So thank you. We always appreciate all the donors to the show. But yeah, I mean, Brett Baier, that took a lot of balls to actually say that. So yeah, Phineas, we love you. Thank you so much for joining us. And our heart goes out to Phineas. He lost his fur baby Zorbus tonight.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Big prayers to Phineas.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, my friend. I'm so sorry. Big hearts and loves to you. Did he actually play the clip though? Did Brett Baier play the clip that he was supposed to play? Or did he not play it?
He didn't play it. Now he's saying it was a wrong clip.
I
don't know what if he was on the air again tonight and played the right clip, but I
wonder if he was supposed to play the one that I played.
It's like,
I mean, but you know what? Again, Harris Faulkner, she wouldn't have played the right one anyway. You know what I mean?
I also don't believe that. I believe that it's not that hard to get the clips right. This is a professional, allegedly, news organization. You have a staff of people.
Right.
So either someone switched it out or something happened. But if you're the anchor and you say, I want the clip of him saying that there's an enemy within and he's going to put the military on American citizens, and then someone else plays the wrong one. I do respect that he came out and said that was the wrong cut, but come on.
You
How
should have
hard
it
is
ready.
it?
Well, I mean, he seemed to have had it ready. And thank you, Rev, for the $5 donation. Loved you guys and all our friends. The Biden economy has surpassed every Trump metric and any economic metric. Facts are facts. I know Trumpies don't like facts, though. Sorry, they just don't. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. All right, let's end on a good note. I wanted to do this because I did see this actually earlier. I think this was before the show, and I quickly saw it when I had logged in at the beginning. I think this was SF Tesla. I try to make a mental note. Apparently, Napa Valley, since I made a note because we were drinking, Napa Valley has a new, what they call it, a new American viticulture area. It's the first one in 13 years. SF Tesla let me know about this in the
last
chat.
one was Petaluma's Gap.
It's called Crystal Springs.
Oh.
It's in Napa Valley, which is already home to 17 distinct AVAs, which are American viticulture areas. The Alcohol and Tobacco Tax Trade Bureau took over 4 years to approve the AVA proposal. And yeah, it's called Crystal Springs. It's located on the border of St. Helena and Calistoga in the foothills of Howell Mountain. I don't know where that is. I know where St. Helena and Calistoga is. So if you know where Howell Mountain is, so they're going to label their wines under the general Napa Valley AVA. But since the broader Napa Valley label signifies the wine could be from anywhere within the region's 120,000 acres of vines, producers were eager to get their specific region recognized for its unique qualities.
Wow.
So there we go. We have a new AVA in Napa Valley. It's called Crystal Springs, pardon me, in the Napa Valley. Crystal Springs in Napa Valley.
What is different about this than the other 12 or 13?
I don't know.
What I want to know, like, why is it different?
So it's primarily planted to Cabernet Sauvignon.
Okay.
It has the wines offer extremely dark, complex flavors and rich aromatics, according to an interview with the San Francisco Chronicle. And so the next time you're browsing the Napa aisle, keep an eye out for the Crystal Springs name.
I like it. Okay.
Oh, and I need to let us know. So I can't. Okay. So again, there is a meetup happening.
I managed to almost make it through this drink.
Okay, I don't have the. Okay, whoever's going to the meetup, Ricky, give me the details really quickly because I don't have them up in front of me. I am not able to make it. My birthday. Do you have the details? I don't have the details in front of me.
It's at Testarossa Winery in Los Gatos.
Okay.
On Saturday, tomorrow, and I think they're meeting at 1 p.m.
Tomorrow's Friday, but
on Saturday, 1 p.m. And they needed an RSVP because they had to make reservations.
Okay.
So you can contact, I think Deidre is the one organizing this.
Yeah.
And if you want to go, maybe she can add your name to the list.
There we go. It's right there.
Yeah.
At One Wine Bar. Unfortunately, my birthday's on the 26th, but I'm celebrating it this Saturday, so I'm not going to be able to be there. I wish I would have known earlier, but we're doing a bike ride in Santa Cruz, and then I'm going to go to a reggae show at Moe's Alley. If anyone loves reggae.
Where's the reggae show?
It's at Moe's Alley in Santa Cruz. It's Michael Rose, one of my favorite artists. So it's at Moe's Alley in Santa Cruz. If anyone loves good reggae, I will be there on Saturday night at Moe's Alley. Find me right in front of the stage. I will be there.
It turns out I'll also be in Santa Cruz on Saturday.
Are you?
I know.
Look for the bike ride. We're going to be riding bikes during the day at a bar crawl. So, and there's like a band thing. Are you going to be at the band?
It's the Santa Cruz High School Band Competition, and it starts at like 9 a.m. Julia has to be there to warm up, and then she competes, and then they don't give out awards out until later.
Oh
so I'm going to be spending all day sitting on, a street.
I might see you
Santa
because
Cruz.
I'm staying at the Aqua Breeze. Just don't
Oh.
stalk me, people. But because they sent me a notification because the parking is going to be all messed up because of the band thing.
The band thing. That's where I'm going.
Oh, how fun! Well,
But I
maybe I'll
think she
text
said
you.
the awards don't happen until later in the day, and then the kids like go to the boardwalk. So I don't think I'm gonna make it over the hill in time to stop at Testarossa, unfortunately.
Oh,
But I
well,
know
we're
it's
all
gonna
going to
be
be in
I
Santa
have at
Cruz. So.
least 14, 15 people that are gonna meet up. And what I love about this is these are folks that met and connected on your show, on the Mark Thompson show, on the
Oh, I
after
love
party, and have
it.
managed to strengthen
Take
these connections and really
pictures.
get to know each other. And now we'll do an in-person meetup, and people are going to be able to see all the people they talk to every day in person. I
Well,
love
you
this
guys,
so
if you
much.
guys please take
Mhm.
pictures and send them to me and Kim and Mark so we can show them on on all of the shows.
Yeah.
Okay. So please send pictures to the shows, all of them. I want to show them too. So even if I'm showing them next Thursday, I want to show them. So
Mhm.
Testarossa Winery in Los Gatos at 1 at the wine bar. Go. It's on Saturday, the
Yep.
19th. It's going to be a great time. Take a bunch of pictures, drive safely. And yeah, it's going to be a great old time. And I love the fact that you guys are doing it. Sandy says, I'm bringing name tags and a sign, which will say Mark Thompson Show Meetup. Perfect. So yeah, just look for people. Have a great time. It's going to be so much fun. And yeah,
Mhm.
it's going to be great. So I'm so glad that you guys are doing that. That is
It's
going to
gonna be
be
good. Yeah.
just so much fun. All right. That is our show. Thank you guys so much for being here. We love you guys so much. And I love the family that you guys have created here. It is
Mhm.
just absolutely awesome. If you love this show, please think about supporting us through our Patreon. Go to thenikkimadoroshow.com, thenikkimadoroshow.com. Thank you to Jim for supporting us through our super chat. Thank you also to Rev P for supporting us through this super chat. You can support us even if you don't do it live. If you're watching this in the recording, just look for the $sign under the live chat box. Our Patreon can be found at thenikkimadoroshow.com. You can also find all of the links under the show notes right there. The Patreon. Also, our PayPal links are there. Every way to support the show is always in the show notes. Apologize for my daughter right there. Also support Auntie Tabby's Island Flavors. She supports the show. She has this delicious guava barbecue sauce.
Mm.
Go to auntietabbys.com and you can buy the guava barbecue sauce and make sure you use our coupon code. It's Nick Kim, NIKKIM, and you get 10% off every single time you order. And a portion goes to our show, a portion goes to support kids in Jamaica, and the guava barbecue sauce is absolutely delicious. So please support the show. We really appreciate you guys being here. We will be back here at 5 o'clock on Thursday, Cocktail and News. Kim's going to have some sort of concoction that's going to get her all messed up from her husband. Who knows?
I drank it.
We love it. Drink your gasoline. We love you. Take care of each other. Have fun on Saturday. Take pictures. Thanks so much for being here. Bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.